And welcome everyone. All right, it is 2:30 and I want to be very mindful of your timing and ours and make sure that we get through everything here. Welcome. We really are excited to have you come to a workshop with us. This is a brand new kind of initiative that we have. We're planning bi-weekly. This is the final scheduled one. And so we're going to send out another schedule coming up within probably the end of this week. We plan on SFB, more event management, possibly one all about contracts, just extra topics that we keep hearing from the RSOs and their needs. For today, though, we are looking at Rso Budget Management. It is going to be mostly about on-campus budgets and how you get payments. I'll let Christine go into that, but it's going to be more about that area. We have a little bit about off-campus, but it's not going to be as detailed because that is now between your RSO and the bank. That's just kind of like a disclaimer there. Taxes as well is really on your end. However, good news is that we are looking at getting someone to help us with taxes possibly in the future, and we'll make sure that you're involved or told about that process once we get that complete. My name is Aileen Lenhart. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Organizations, been here 5 years now, and I will have Christine introduce herself as well.
Hi guys, I'm Christine Kelly and I'm the budget manager here at Student Involvement, but I'm SI Budget. So if you email SI Budget, you're talking to me. So yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today about what I do and how to help you guys make payments for your RSO events. So should I get started? Does that sound good?
I believe so. I would say if you can chat into, go into chat, go ahead and tell me which RSO you're a part of. I love to see all who are being represented in here. How we kind of get a heads up on what you're all part of. Oh, awesome. Patriot Pitches, love it. Bengali Patriot Association, welcome. Hey, wow, look at you all coming in multiple RSOs. Look at you all, this is great. I'm very excited that you're attending. This is one of our biggest achievements, I think, this year is making sure that you're connecting with us as much as possible. All right, thank you. Feel free to just keep adding them in there. I just love to see what groups you're a part of. We'll make sure that we are just being represented here. All right, and then feel free to chat. If there's a question during this, raise your hand and we'll get to your questions, and I'll keep an eye on the chat as Christine talks. So I'll kind of help out as much as possible. All right, Christine, you're up.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Yep. Okay. Well, I thought we could start off. I don't know if this video hopefully will give you kind of an introduction to SI Budget. So let me see if I can share that. Okay. Let me know if you can't hear it. Well, maybe we won't be watching the video.
Is it because there's two of them open? Maybe close that.
Oh,
one.
is that why? Okay,
It
let's see
might
if
be.
that's why. Nope.
We'll check it later.
check
You guys have the link. I will re-put it into our chat. Make sure that you have this document. You should be able to click
Okay.
on that link and watch it.
I don't know what is happening. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I am not great at this, as you will be able to tell. That's hold on one second.
And see if I can get
Yeah. Why don't you do it? Because
Okay,
I'm clearly not.
you see what happens.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, I bet I didn't share. So hold on. Sorry, everyone. We're gonna get there. I need to share with audio. Oh, and see, I'm clicking the wrong ones. Share sound. There we go. Let's see what happens with me.
What is SI Budget? SI Budget is a team at Student Involvement that is the resource for all your budget-related questions. SI Budget helps you track your expenses and spend the funds that SFB has allocated to your RSO. By now, you should have watched the SFB video. From this video, here are the list of things that SFB provides funding for. Please note that there are different methods of payment for each of these items, so it is important to learn what method you will be using, as some take additional steps, paperwork, or time than others. Here are instructions on how to find the RSO Spending Methods cheat sheet. Go to the RSO Self-Service Center, search Spending Methods, click RSO Spending Methods, find the proper method on the chart, then search that method in the RSO Self-Service Center to gain the relevant information that you need. There are important things to know prior to purchasing. Once you have received an email notification from SFB that your event is approved, your job is not done. Prior to any purchase, regardless of the spending method, you must either contact SI Budget or log into the Mason 360 Budgeting tab and click Request Payment. Here's how to find the payment request form on Mason 360. Go to the sidebar on Mason 360, click on Money, open the drop-down menu and click on Budgeting, scroll down and click Request Payment. Here are important things to note. Under the Approval section of the payment request form, the colored dot must be green for you to request payment. The dark green dot means that your funding has been provided in full. The light green dot means that your funding has been partially provided. If the dot is orange, that means your application is still under review, and if the dot is red, this means funding has not been provided. This form is how to request payment using any of the payment methods you need for your SFB events or purchases. When filling out the form, here are important things to note. Revenue/expense must be expense, and from group funds must be $0. Please familiarize yourself with your accounting book on Mason 360. The accounting book is where you can view a summary of your RSO's budget, which you can see at the top of the screen. By scrolling down, you are able to view each individual transaction. This list will display information such as the original item and its documentation. Let's talk about off-campus bank accounts. Due to Policy 6000, student-generated revenue, which is group funds on Mason 360, must now be deposited in off-campus bank accounts. In other words, you cannot make on-campus deposits. The amount listed under Group Funds Balance is what you will lose if not deposited in an off-campus bank account. If you have any questions, please contact sibudget@gmu.edu. What is SI Budget?
All right, and we'll go deeper into some of these. It was just a quick look over. So Christine, go back to you.
Okay. All right. Let me try this again. Here we go. Okay. So first I just wanted to, the video referenced it, but there are really two types of funding. The first is that SGR, self-generated revenue, and that's whenever your RSO is collecting dues or they are charging for an event or fundraising. So all of that money that you guys collect now needs to be put into that off-campus bank account. The other way to have funding is to apply for it from the Student Funding Board. And I know I recognize some of your names. I know that you guys have been through the process before, but your RSO, based on your RSO's tier level, there's a certain amount of money that you can request per year for your events or your RSO travel or different things. But that, like that video said, that money is not just given to you. You have to apply for it to make sure that the SFB, the Student Funding Board, makes sure that it's that it's in accordance, the money's being spent in accordance with all of Mason's policies and procedures. So that's why you have to apply to use it. And so I did want to show you the RSO Self-Service Center is really the first stop in any sort of payment question. You can see it here. It's gonna have, if you see this search bar right here, it has, there's two search bars. Don't use this one. I know it's confusing, but this is where you're going to search. You can search for whatever kind of payment type that you need to find, and you'll find, like I can search for honorariums, for example. That's going to tell me the timeline deadline for when you need to have certain forms in. It tells you the processing time. It's going to give you description. It's going to give you instructions. So for, any type of payment, I really recommend trying to come here first, because this is going to have a lot of information that you will need to complete that type of payment. The next thing I'm going to show you, which you can see on the document Aya provided, is the RSO spending methods cheat sheet. And this is where you can go. So for any given event, it may be multiple types of purchases that you need to make. And I'm just going to walk through them a little bit, because just so you can have an understanding. So the first one I'm going to start with is the purchasing card, or the P card. So this is a university credit card that's issued to a Mason employee, which in this case is me. So this is the purpose of this. You would be requesting payment for this if you were paying for something that was online or or something I could pay for over the phone that costs less than $5,000. So an example of this would be like you have Amazon purchases for an event and that you can, or catering would be another great example. So then you can see, then you would go to that Mason 360, just like you saw in the video. You'd be requesting payment. You would be putting in all the RSO information, and then you'd be providing me a spreadsheet or a catering contract or price quote so that I can use those to make the payment for you on behalf of your RSO. Another way to make payments is through reimbursement. So this is when one of your RSO members would be paying for something out of pocket. And this would be used, for example, for if it's a store that I, can't buy online, if you wanted to go to Walmart, or if you wanted to go to, Home Depot or something like that, you can pay for it out of pocket, and then you can seek reimbursement afterwards. Travel would be another example of when you would need reimbursement. I will say for reimbursement that there are two mistakes that people make pretty consistently. One of them is that you need to have an itemized receipt that shows the proof of purchase. So an itemized receipt shows exactly what was purchased, because accounts payable, again, wants to make sure that the money is being spent on appropriate items. And then it needs to show how it was paid for, like the last 4 digits of the credit card. I'm sure you've seen that on a receipt before. So that's key. That itemized receipt is key for reimbursement. And it's also, before you go to the store, you would contact me for a tax exempt certificate if you are using SFB money, because because Mason is tax exempt, we cannot reimburse for tax. So you need to take that with you to the store, and when you are paying, you give them that tax exempt certificate, and they remove the tax from the order right there. So those are two kind of key things to know about reimbursement. Another method of payment is the on-campus charging. And this is for anything that's on campus: event services, police services, parking services. When you are using SFB funded money, you can provide them with your org code, which I'll show you in a second how to get. And this is the simplest way of payment. However, if you are using SGR, then you can't pay with your organization code, because that money comes out of your on-campus account, which now, as you know, has 0 in it. You need to pay. So each one has slightly different. Corner Pocket, I know, takes credit cards and checks. Event services, we're working on checks. Police services takes checks. So for on campus, just depends on which type of funding that you are using. I know I believe there were some questions about an honorarium. The honorarium is a one-time payment issued as a token of appreciation. So it can't be, you can't have an agreement of payment beforehand. There can't be a contract involved. This is just a gift. There can be no like expectation of payment. So the honorarium does have several forms that you need to fill out to complete this. The recipient has to fill out a W-9. There's an independent contractor form. You'll need to also provide a flyer from the event. So there are, you know, again, I refer to the RSO Self-Service Center to read through like what does it take in order to have an honorarium. The last one I want to talk about is the purchase order. And this is for, it's a promissory agreement between Mason and the vendor. So they basically, it's just a piece of paper that says Mason promises to pay for your good or service after it's been received, after they've received an invoice for it, and they'll pay within 30 days. This is used for expenses that cost over $5,000 or events that have a contract or entertainment. This is when a purchase order is required. And so this one you can request from me and I will provide it for you. So the trick with the purchase order is that vendor needs to be in the system, in the purchasing system, which is called EVA. So there are quite a few vendors already in EVA. And so the only thing is, if you know you're going to be asking for a purchase order, you can always give me a heads up and say, hey, is this vendor in EVA? I can check. If not, then we can work on getting that vendor set up so that we can provide them a purchase order in advance of the event. So that is, and as you can see, there might be multiple of these used for a given event. So that's why it's good to understand kind of when each of these is used, because for an event, you might be having a DJ, which you need a purchase order for. You might be paying for some supplies on Amazon. You might be using event services. So those are this is a good place to go to kind of understand, you know, how you'll be spending your money. I think that the video showed you pretty well how to go onto Mason 360. You're going to see that there's this request, but you can see, oh, they've received their funding. They're good to go. You're going to click that request payment. When you do that, you can, I'll just show you quickly what it looks like on the next screen. Let's see if Mason 360 org, there we go. But this really takes you step by step in making that request. You can see up here, these are exactly what we just talked about. The journal voucher, that is just when you are, usually when you're doing a event with other RSOs and you just need to transfer money from your account to their account. So it's not super common. But if you aren't sure, then you can click this. And this really goes into detail of all the different types of expenses that you might want. So you can click on this, you click next, and it'll just really walk you through the process of, this tells you, oh, okay, this describes what catering is, what a business meal is, what supplies, food and beverages are, so that you can select the correct thing for what your event is going to need. So that's at Mason 360. If you have more questions about that or want to meet with me, we can walk through it more detailed, just let me know. When you are submitting a payment request to Mason 360, we talked about the honorarium. Aya, did you want to talk about any of this?
Well, Despina, you had your hand up. Do you want to type in the chat or just unmute? I didn't want to miss a question. Oh, maybe the hand's down. Okay. So we had to throw in there contrast because a lot of times we have any non-Mason speaker, performer, vendor. Oh, Despina, no, we couldn't hear you. Okay, go ahead and type it. We'll make sure that we answer your question. And everyone feel free to just raise those hands. Pause this. It's supposed to be a workshop so that you can ask your questions as needed. Gotta stay on topic though. We'd like to help you as we go.
Okay. She's writing.
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, that's a question for you. Wants to clarify, but the money that's provided to them, they don't have to reimburse to the university, correct? So that would be student funding board is what they're saying.
Right. If the student funding board provides you money, then you don't have to pay the university back. They would be, so once you are provided, once your RSO is provided money, you can go spend that money and then you can get reimbursed if you've put your money, if you've paid your money out of pocket, but you don't need to reimburse the college. If that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
That is a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
This is just showing you where you can find your org code. It's you just log into your Mason 360, your RSO. You can find it in files and you'll see that it's going to start with an M or a W. So every RSO has a new org code as of this year because we have a new chart of accounts basically. But so you'll want to look for it right there. And you are going to need that even when you request a payment on Mason 360, you're going to need that org code. And then obviously if you're going to do on-campus charging, you're going to need that org code as well. Let's see. So the off-campus, this is when you are going to apply. This is where you need to, first step is to apply for a TIN, which is a tax identification number from the IRS. Then I really recommend that you look over this document and let me see if I can, there we go. Right here, this is the best practices document that the university has put together. This is really has the most information we can provide for you for an off-campus bank account. I'll just run through some of them real quickly. I mean, it just talks about roles and responsibilities of having two officers handling it. It talks about budgeting, just how to create a budget, just like you would for your own self and what kind of steps that would look like. Here's that revenue piece we were talking about. So this is the self-generated revenue, obviously, and that you can collect it. You can accept credit cards from established third-party processors. You should not accept a credit card directly from a payee. You can accept cash. This gives you some guidelines on how to do that and do it the best way possible. I've included this piece on that document that Aya provided for you because I know there are some questions about fundraisers. But the key here is that unless your student organization has been granted 501c3 status, then you cannot claim to be tax exempt a charitable organization. We don't recommend that you try to be a 501c3 because it's a lengthy and expensive process. So that means that that when you have to tell the donor that they cannot claim to their donation to be tax exempt charitable on their taxes. That's the key there. So you need to tell them ahead of time. You can tell them that you are an on-campus student organization. I can provide you a letter that says that you are. And the other key here is that you can't, when you are setting up a fundraiser, you need to provide them your RSO's TIN and not Mason's. If you provide Mason's, then they will give you a check made out to Mason and not to your RSO, and you won't be able to deposit it into your account. So those are some important things to know. This just talks about expenses, making sure you pay your bills, how to reconcile, looking at your invoices and expenses and checking that against your bank statement. Record keeping, making sure that you keep your records. Then that would be important when you are passing on to new officers, that you give them all the information that they need. And then this is the tax information, but again, we aren't permitted to give tax advice. So we are hoping to set up an outside vendor to come and talk to you guys, and hopefully we'll be sending that information out soon. So I really recommend that you guys read through that information. And just so you also know, with self-generated revenue, if you are having an event on campus, all of the Mason policies are still in place. So that means that if you are on campus, you need to have a approved caterer, for example. So just keep that in mind. Here's the fundraising information that I just highlighted. And then did you want to talk to this, Aya?
I'm sorry. Okay, so fundraising. I know a lot of times, I'm sorry, I was working in the background on the SFB question. So
No problem.
Let's start from the top and then go to fundraising. I'm sorry, everyone. So I've been in the chat with SFB right now. It looks like academic year for tier 2 is 6,000. So the full year, you would have access to 6,000. You have to be awarded or like allocated, but not, you don't get it automatic. Like you're seeing that you have to go through all those processes. I haven't heard back yet about tier 1. They're all typing in the background. So as soon as I know, I'll type it in. All right. Thanks for being patient with me as I kept waiting on that. All right. There was another question. I don't want to lose it. Let's see. There was Camille. Will RSOs be notified when SGR transfer checks come in? Let's do that one first.
Yes. So once you have an off-campus bank account, then you can contact me, and then you will need to upload a W-9 to the portal here at Mason for your RSO. Once you guys have done that, then your RSO is given a G number, and then at that point I can request a check be mailed to whatever address you put on your W-9 is the address that's in Mason's system, and that's the address the check will be mailed to. So that's if you put the SI office, then yes, you would be alerted when that check came in.
Great. And then they are asking about those off-campus bank accounts. What banks do you recommend? Can we recommend? Do we recommend?
I can't recommend a bank to you. If you know of another RSO that already has an off-campus bank account, that would be a great way to kind of hear what's been successful.
Okay, and then you had already looked over how to start, where to find the info to get a bank account? Or are we still going to? Okay, can you quickly show them on the page where that was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right here, apply for a TIN.
So you would just go to your bank. Apparently you do a TIN first, correct? And then go.
That is correct. You applied, yes. And once you go to your bank, sometimes the bank will require a letter from Mason, which I can also provide for you. So just let me know. Some banks seem to require it, some don't, but I'm happy to send you a letter if you need it.
Yeah.
But you need to get that TIN first.
Yeah. And we have info for the last question. We're getting a lot of good questions. I think it's these banks. I don't know, Elena, what area you missed. However, we are recording this and we'll be putting up online, but maybe we'll recover it. I'm not sure. If you know exactly what question you're looking for, we'll try it. Matthew, crowdsource, you guys can do whatever you want. If you're like in Twitter or something and you're like, hey, this bank is awesome with RSO, that's great. But for us, we can't personally, like in our professional jobs, tell you which bank to go to. So you guys feel free to talk amongst each other. If you see another group that's using a bank, talk to them. But yeah, I think I'm caught up a little bit. I haven't heard back about tier 1 yet. But I know 6,000 for tier 2s, and that's academic year. So I'm trying to keep track. Oh, there we go. Somebody already answered for you. Somebody's very friendly. So thank you. Yeah, if you guys know, just pop it in the chat, talk to each other. All right, so fundraising ideas, and feel free to add more questions as we talk. I know we get to ask this a lot, and I'm thinking about somehow if you want to ask us or stop in and talk to the Rso lead team and say, all right, how do I fundraise? Who can I fundraise? It's a lot of restaurants. Just walking around, I know there's a couple of them out there. I know Panda Express does it. Here, I can recommend these. I know Dave & Buster's is looking at information. I was actually going to add that to the next newsletter. There's a lot of different areas. And the only thing I would really push is that you need to make sure it's vetted. Don't just, if you get some weird spam email and they're saying, you're going to make all this money, look into it. Don't just trust that they're going to get you that money with all that work. Make sure that you're vetting it. And I actually would say, go to career services. They're really awesome. They might even have somebody that they would recommend to you. So I would say career services is another option for you to go talk to, because they vet them. They know exactly who these people are, but if they're legitimate. You have to follow all state and federal laws. So, but that's just a normal generalized statement. Have to deposit it into your off-campus bank account. And think of all those on-campus, our area, working with Panda Express here, but also just go outside. Find those people in your group that are really good at like selling your group and saying, we want to, raise some funds. Can we help you do anything? Get that person that really makes that a, relationship, and keep documentation, making sure that, next year, make sure you talk to this person, get that connection still going. One of the bigger questions has been raffles. You have to follow gambling laws. So if you're wondering, I wonder if this is gambling, it probably is. So you'd have to follow the law. So making sure that you're getting into, and I know that you're going to be like, oh, my instance, feel free to email us saying my event is going to have this. One of the easiest way to, make sure it's not a problem, everyone that comes and does your event gets a prize, but maybe one person will get the bigger prize. But if everyone gets prize, that's not a raffle anymore. It's more or less everyone gets something. So being careful with that kind of thing. But yeah, let's see. We got some great recommendations coming through on that. So yeah, feel free to talk to each other. Off-campus fundraiser where we charge an entry fee. What you do off campus is all on you. And the other thing is follow the laws. That's all we'll say. On campus is when we get involved. That's when we really need to make sure that you're following all the policies, Mason there, but just follow those Virginia laws and you'll be fine. Yes. Okay. Oh, here we go. I got some good answers here. So tier 1 is going to be $3,000 per academic year. So that's why a lot of times most go to tier 2. I just agreed with them. I'm going to put it on the RSO website somewhere. I'm going to find the spot, probably in the tier section. I'm just going to add it in there. That way you guys don't have to go keep looking for it. But yeah. Okay. What purchasing method is recommended for buying RSO shirts, Christine?
So I believe that SFB does not fund shirts. So that would be money you'd have to raise and then buy off with your off-campus account. So in that case, I would not be involved in your purchase.
But I always say it doesn't hurt to ask.
It doesn't. You're welcome to ask.
Like, what if
you're welcome to ask? If they say yes, then I would say the P card. You're welcome to ask. Yes.
I would prefer like every year just go in and ask, because things change all the time and you never know.
That's true.
Maybe something has lessened and they're okay with it. I don't know what policy right now they have, but they're chatting in the background. Oh, we have SGR, but I'm still waiting for the transfer. Okay, so how long does it take? About?
Well, it doesn't usually take long for me to turn it around. It just is a question of the check being cut in the mail. So I can't, once I've sent my once I've done my piece, it's out of my hands. So that's hard for me to, but, Camille, I think yours was done a while ago. So I think I'll talk to you offline and see if we can yeah, I'll talk to you offline about it.
Okay, what other questions do we have out there? You feel free to raise your hand if you prefer to speak. Where can you see if you're tier 1 versus tier 2? That's a good question. So registration applications would have told us which one you are. We have the information on our end, so you can just email the RSO lead team. So rso@gmu.edu. Because there's different, what would you call it, requirements for being a tier 2, since you have much more access, more money. That's just for those RSOs that want to do the larger activities. And tier 1's for those, the smaller groups that are like, we just want to gather. We don't need anything extra. Looks like we got some more discussion about bank accounts. Are there any recommendations about if the off-campus bank account is under an officer or an advisor name? What do you think, Christine?
Oh, sorry. Are there? I believe it needs to be under an, that would be a discussion you'd have with your advisor. I think they were encouraging the officers to be in charge of the accounts though.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Camille. Appreciate that. Hey, we got some great people in here being able to help each other. This is wonderful. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, I think. Oh. All right. Well, I appreciate you all coming. If we don't see another question, oh, there you go.
I did see one
This one.
from Matthew as far as things like t-shirts and other non-event related purchases. Is it hit and miss with SFB typically approves? They do have a website.
Mhm.
And on it, it has what does SFB fund? Let me see if I can throw that in the chat.
Yeah, and I know that we're going to have a student funding board workshop. And I know that the biggest thing, like goal for them this year, is to try to make that manual that is very specific on how and what you can do. They're working on it. Thank you, Christine. I think that's why, Matthew, that they're working on it. I believe that is not a secret on our end, that we're trying to figure it out, what went wrong, like what we can fix. Our goal is that SFB gets used a lot this year. That's what we want. So even when I did my events management workshop just recently, I was like, please get that SFB, ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, and then, find out what they can do. So really appreciate that.
Yep.
Did I miss any other questions? They're coming in strong. And I guess when you do your officer transitions, your treasurer is going to be in charge of a lot with those, the documentation, making sure that it gets transferred. So I believe accounts can have 2 people listed. So that, I believe, it's been a while since I've done this. I actually did this in my past university when I was an officer. So maybe looking into that so that there's always 2 people that, one, if they suddenly left and you're stuck, you'd have that extra person. Yes, Mario, this is being recorded. You have to give me up to 2 weeks because I will edit out, like there's like a good half hour of nothing that I need to edit out. I just need to make sure I download it and I'll upload it. So actually, let me share kind of where it is. Let's see. So where oh gosh, I can't see. Oh, there we go. So I go to student involvement. So RSO information, and you'll see annual events and workshops. That might be one of your favorite places to go to because you will see all of the fair information. When we do registrations, Distinguished Quill Awards, bench painting party, but the workshops will be here, and right underneath the register for the workshop, I'll put in the link to the actual workshop so that you can review it. Yep. So, and I will update this as they come in. SFB, it looks like September 5th that week that they're planning on doing a workshop at that time. So I'll probably do another events one coming up.
Well, please reach out with any questions that you have. I really do want to help you and your RSO to make your payments and be successful. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Adding their website, email, and ours. Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. Yeah, you're welcome. We're really happy you came.